understanding ourselves isn't written in words, it's etched in the stars, whispered in the planetary alignments, and mirrored in the cycles of the earth itself. Astrology has long been a tool for prediction. But what if it's really a mirror for self awareness? What if it's less about fate and more about truth? The truth we often avoid seeing in ourselves. Listeners, welcome to the Cosmic Confluence podcast. I'm your host Sana, and today for this episode, I am joined by someone who carries both the calm of a seasoned traveler and the insight of a cosmic storyteller. Indra Rinzler. His journey spans lifetimes of exploration from the physical to the spiritual, from our deep connection to Gaia Earth to the subtle patterns that shape our personal evolution. So, listeners, this is not about horoscopes in the back of a magazine or your newspapers. This is about peeling back layers of the self. So let's sit in the quiet space between skepticism and wonder and explore how the stars can guide us inward. So, Indra, welcome to the show. And I'm really, really excited for our conversation on astrology for self awareness.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation too.
Okay, so Indra, let's try to understand how astrology can be, in fact, a tool for self-awareness. I mean, how do you see it differing from the way most people use it? Personally, I used to use astrology just for, prediction or to understand what will be my week like this week or tomorrow. Especially for any important event that is happening in my life.
Uh, well, let me start by giving you a little bit of background so that people know where I'm coming from. I'm a Vedic astrologer. I live. I'm an American. I live in California, but I have been traveling to India. I came the first time in '86, and I've been traveling to India almost every year since '99. So 25 years of India. I've been all over India. The astrology I started when I started on the spiritual path more than 50 years ago. I started as a Western astrologer because we didn't know about Indian astrology at the time. And when I got back into astrology in the mid 90s, I was living in an ashram dedicated to an Indian teacher, and astrology that came up then was Vedic astrology, Indian astrology. And so I studied it, Vedic astrology, got back into astrology, and, have been a professional astrologer now for more than 10 years. It took 40 years before I was ready to be a professional astrologer, and, I've had, over 1,500 readings now.
Wow.
Now, the idea is I don't do predictions, and I like to say, as I just told you, that whenever I give readings in India, and I have more Western clients, honestly, because the spirituality is what I'm interested in. Uh,
Mhm.
but I do have Indians, and I always tell them that I don't do it like an Indian reading. I don't do predictions. I'm not interested in telling you when you're gonna get married, and I don't know if you will. That is your own karma. I can give you circumstances around it. I can give you the issues around it. I can tell you what you need to do in order to be attracting that not more attractive, but attracting that energy in your life and give it a lot of clarity, but the prediction part of it I'm not interested in. So I believe in the that the strengths and weaknesses in charts. I believe that there are strong planets. The planets are neither good nor bad, but the planets are strong, that they are in signs that they're happy in. They have, conjunct neighbors and neighbors that they're happy, and so those are our skills and abilities. And on
Mhm.
the other side, the planets that are weak, they're not bad, but they are weak. The planets don't care. The planets are in signs that they're not comfortable. They're in houses that are not comfortable. We use the word debilitated, the dignity, the quality of energy of the planet based on the sign that it's in. When they're not good, these are our weaknesses. And all my research, 25 years plus research, has shown that these planets then we compensate for the weakness we feel in the planet, and we create obsessions and compulsions. This is where that in a reading, I look to the weaker planets, and I don't find them to be curses. I find them to be where we need to grow.
That is interesting. That is interesting. Um, so uh, thank you for sharing this. And so when let's say Indra, someone approaches you with a purely predictive mindset, how do you uh, guide them to a deeper self-reflection, instead of future forecasting? Because um, could be very, tricky to kind of shift the way they view astrology.
Well, I completely agree, and I have to, I have to admit that I don't run into many people like that. Um, because a couple of reasons. One is because is because people are sent, and so they don't that I can't really well, it's not that I can't work with it, but they're not my people. What I call they're not my people, they're not the ones if the idea that if your people can hear you 90% or 100%, then the people who aren't your people, that it's too intimate, that it's too vulnerable, that it's too confrontive, that it upsets their nervous system and it makes them feel too vulnerable. Those aren't the people that come to me, the lowest I have on that, the lowest is maybe not the right word, but I was thinking the thing that I do have sometimes that people are curious.
Mhm.
Okay, people come and they're curious. I mean, people come and I'm lost and I don't know who I am and I really need help. That's more of the average. They're going through planetary. Most of the people are going through planetary changes, planetary period changes, the Mahadashas, changes in their life, and that's why it's a time and they're very vulnerable and they want to hear information. But the curious are the ones that are a little bit skeptical perhaps, and they can range. They're not always skeptical, but they can be a little bit skeptical, and then they get a little closed, and then they can't quite hear. And if people have a predictive mind set, and again, this is more India than it is in the West. People there's divination, like for prediction, I use divination, I use tarot, I've used I Ching, and I've used I use my intuition is really the divination that I use, not so much predictions because I'm not interested in if personally whether something will happen or not, but what am I supposed to do? What's trying to happen in this particular moment? What is the making sense of what I'm feeling when I'm, triggered and when we get mental, then intuition is really hard to access, and so I use other tools for that than astrology, but astrology can be useful because quite often I confirm, people's, intuitional hit, that they don't trust their intuition, I had a client last week who it ended up that it looked like, Northern Washington, the state of Washington, or even into British Columbia was her best place because I do location astrology, so we get into places, and I think that's kinda what she wanted, but she wasn't in a place she really wanted to be she probably wanted to be told, but she wanted to get my own opinion, and the fact was, I think there was I felt a real joy, and the pressure lifting when we got to because that's kind of what she wanted to do.
Hmm. Location astrology. Wow, that is. Is it something related to Vastu, or it's just
No, it's not Vastu. It's also called astrocartography. And
Okay.
and the way that it works is perhaps you've heard of ley lines. Have you heard of that? The Earth's ley lines?
Yeah, yeah, I have, I have.
Okay, so ley lines are not quite the same, but they're similar. So ley lines are powerful places on the Earth that are natural to the Earth's configuration where energy is particularly strong. Okay, these are similar, but what they are is it's based on your astrology that we cast a chart, and they have software that casts these lines onto the earth, and they are particular for you. The ley lines are the same for everybody. The astrocartography, the location astrology, the lines are particular to you based on, again, your birth time, date, and place. And we do 4 lines for each planet, and the lines are the 0 degree of the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th house.
Okay, okay, okay. So
It
it's like
they
it's
are intense, they are lines of intense energy
energy.
where Mercury first line is very intense Mercury energy, and while the thinking, the people don't really know thinks that the intense line is good and the no intense line is not good. It doesn't really work that way. Once again, if you do well with intensity and somebody over your shoulder and your coach at the gym, then maybe that line is really good for you. It can help you to grow, but a lot of us can find those lines to be kind of intense, and it's like, don't, stop looking over my shoulder, and I'll call you when I have something for you, let me be. So the lines can be kind of intense, and then then you look for the quiet places between the lines.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting, Indra. And uh, I'll also bring in Gaia Earth, because you speak about our relationship with Gaia Earth in your work. So before I we dive into how it kind of connects with astrology, planetary astrology, for all the listeners, if you can explain what exactly Gaia Earth means.
Well, I mean, Gaia Earth to me is the spirit, the spirit of the earth. It's not just the physical plane, and the reason that we all, I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't feel better in nature. And, while there are people, there are city people that may be uncomfortable in nature, when they can relax, almost everybody loves nature, and I think the reason for that is because it reminds us of who we really are.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
No, that's
it's not actually a separation from us, it's actually we connect with it, and in there we get whether it's the hormone on a hormonal level, that it's, endorphins or something on that sort of a level. That's not really a level that I particularly work on, but the idea that one way I like to use nature is as a symbol of people feeling their higher self. That when you have a nature experience or you see a sunset and hard to find it in India that it's quiet, whatever, but the nature experience that people have at whatever level they have it, that's a way that I can use, for people to understand, well, what's it gonna feel like if I go into my higher self, and what's it like if I let go of my stories and let go of my stresses and let go of my tensions? Oh, I say, well, you remember when you were at the beach and you watched the sunset, and you felt the wind in your face, and that's everybody can relate to that. It's not a religion, but it is a spirituality, and maybe you can certainly make it a religion, but it's because it instinctively reminds us of who we really are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really reminds us that for the fact that we are a part of this nature, we are part of the cosmos, we are part of the universe. Um, and I can vouch for this because living in a city, we often get experiences of living in cramped places which are devoid of sunlight or fresh air, for the fact that the honking of cars, traffic, it suppresses the chirping of birds. So, when we get back to these sounds, the visuals, the warmth of sunlight, um, it really invigorates your spirit. And it's scientifically proven that they physically, mentally impact us. Definitely.
Yes, absolutely, a beautiful image, and even a city park, even if maybe you hear a bird sing, or you see trees and you see flowers, it just, it can certainly change your spirit, and then the sun, I know, I remember, I'm thinking of all the times I've been in India and even more perhaps in Nepal where it's colder in the winter and everybody is worshiping the sun. All the merchants are sitting on the sun side of the street, whatever side their store is on. Everybody is sitting in the sun for those hours that it comes over the street, 2 or 3 hours or whatever that they have sunlight. Everybody worships that sun and sits in it because they want to get warmer, but it's more than that. It just it's magnetic and healing. Yes, beautiful
Mhm.
analogy.
And now, Indra, I am really curious to understand, how do you connect planetary astrology with this very physical, grounded relationship to the planet that we live on?
Well, that's a great question. Let's see. I think the how I do that is to try to get people grounded, is to realize that who they are is this self in nature, and who they think they are, but they aren't, is the stressful mother or the angry coworker or the shameful debutante or whatever it is, all the stories that we pick up that we run about not good enough and he's not better and I need to do better and the shame that we feel because we achieve or don't achieve, all of this stuff is who we identify with, but
Hmm.
it just takes away peace because it's not who we are, it's who we think we are, and the life seems to be, and I've almost had 8 complete decades here, or maybe it's 7 complete decades. Anyways, I think it's 7 complete decades here, and it's just about letting go of these stories because it's the old Indian story of how did you know how to carve that most beautiful elephant? And the
Mm.
artist says, "Well, I knew I just took away what wasn't the elephant."
Yes, that's very, very well put, and very well put. So before we wrap up, and it's more of a reflective um, question on astrology. Um, And now in a world, that's increasingly skeptical of spiritual practices, what do you say to those who view astrology as nothing more than pseudoscience or a kind of tool for fear mongering? I mean, what's your thought on that?
Well, that's a great question. Well, I wanna let's okay, so let's break this down here. Spiritual what did you say? Spiritual celebration? Spiritual ceremony? S
On spiritual practices,
s spiritual one more time, spiritual
practices.
spiritual practices. Okay. So while the the later the younger generations, I'm thinking of I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna start with Catholics, less of the kids aren't going to church anymore. So the spiritual practices in that sense are have lessened, and it may be in India that the younger generations have moved away from the practices of the elders, and while there's still a lot of respect that they've moved away from those practices, I'll grant you that. But I think what has happened is that I think yoga has replaced, going to the temple. I think that nutrition and health and body awareness and Vastu and Reiki has changed that in I don't know how much you get into Dwapara Yuga. I believe we're in Dwapara Yuga, that we're not in Kali Yuga anymore, and the spiritual practices of Dwapara Yuga of descending Dwapara Yuga are coming back. I mean, yoga is all over the world now, and as I mentioned to you before, I've been going to Rishikesh for 25 years. Rishikesh likes to say it's the yoga capital of the world, and it is everywhere. A friend of mine there told me that his son, who's a famous teacher there, this winter I heard this story that he had 87 people for a month long, and they were from 43 different countries.
Wow.
So I think that it has changed, and I think it's become more relevant, and I think it's become more energetic, and I think it's become less, uh, 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 eh, Kali Yuga. It's become less dense. It's less of a dense nature, and it's less of rules, and it's a little bit more of I have to do what I believe, and I think that while there can be in a family when the rebellion comes along that it can be very stressful. I think that over the 50 plus years that I've been in when I first moved to California and seen this thing grow, and I've been in it since the very beginning when it was natural food stores, that we could go to stores and buy organic food, which we'd never heard of before, and organic products and quality of life became something. I think this has become the spiritual practices, and I think that it is exploding, and, there's no way to control it. Now when it comes to not that you'd want to, but I mean, you can't put this genie back in the bottle is what I'm trying to say. Now when it comes to the astrology, I think the astrology is changing too, and I think that some of the practices, have been where we give our power away. Then the astrologer says so and so, and we believe that so and so is true, and while my experience is that Indians, trust, the astrologer to make wise decisions in the marriage, and I really, honor that tradition for the people that believe it and the people that do it. The new, marriage of love and not going that route is also becoming very popular, and I think that there's truth in that also. I think that the rules the reality is that the rules of astrology that everybody follows are from Kali Yuga. that these are not high rules. These are very oppressive rules that don't give us any freedom to become who we are, that we're stuck in life and we have a fixed nature, and it's like the caste system, which I'm not against caste system, but the rigidity of the caste system, the rigidity of the nature of the caste system has been brought into astrology, and I think it was brought into astrology as a way to control people and as a way to make money. That if you don't have any problems as an astrologer, you don't get paid.
Yeah, I think it's about the intention. It's about the intention. Uh, because you know, I was not an ardent. I have not been an ardent follower of astrology. Because primarily my observations made me to conclude that it's more about taking advantage of the fear of predicting something devastatingly bad, and then I had my kind of arguments between the practicality and the sometimes the you know surprising astrological uh, deductions done through the planetary readings and stuff. So I have been quite skeptical around it. But then, if we look at astrology from a lens of being a companion, like a guiding compass, then I'm definitely up for this.
Well, that's the way that I do it, and I think that is getting more popular. I would imagine it's getting more popular in India. I mean, not imagine, I mean, I know it's getting more popular in India, and I know it's getting more popular in the world, and it's slowly the world is changing, and people are seeing that, and even when they have some of the new ways of, um, doing astrology that can create more freedom, it still may have it may still may have some rigidity in it because it is really hard to be 100% free in you have to be 100% free in yourself in order to be able to create and express an astrology that is 100% free. And I wanna make a distinction here, a distinction here between the and I'm gonna call it the science of astrology, between astrology itself as a high practice versus astrology when it's not practiced well, and what comes up in my mind is a simple chapati that I mean, in India, everybody eats chapatis, but if you make a chapati and you use the wrong ingredients and maybe you use, I don't know, all salt and no flour, it may not be edible. And so astrology is the same way that it is I like to say that the reason that and you may or may not be aware of this, the reason that for, let's say, 1,000 years, people could get killed for practicing astrology in the Christian traditions, in the Middle Ages, and the Dark Ages in Europe, was because it was too powerful.
Mm.
Because the truth was the thing that got you killed was the idea that the Earth circled the sun.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Okay, this was it. This was the big go-to, is that the Earth circled the sun. If you believe that, then they would kill you because that was too powerful, and it was what we call sacrilegious. And so we still have some of that thoughts going on, but it is changing, and podcasts like this and bringing this out into the open, and I know a lot of Indians that they may not wanna say anything out in front, but underneath they know, that some of these ideas that are very popular make no sense to them, and they these are the courageous women and men of India to be able to express this, and I think this is I'm sure I know it's becoming more popular, and I would assume you've seen this view more popular also. Maybe not in the majority, but certainly more vocal than it was 5 and 10 and 20 years ago.
Mhm. I agree, 100%. 100%. Great. Indra, if listeners they would like to connect with you, what would be the best way?
Well, thank you for that. The best way is to check the website, indrarinzler.com. It's all one word. Or you can write me at indrarinzler@gmail.com. And um I offer Vedic readings. I offer a number of different kinds of readings, and I'm really interested in empowering you. I'm interested in giving you, answering your questions about who are you and what you're supposed to be doing, and to try to make sense out of the life. And I do them all over the world. I'll be back in India in November. So that time frame is the time difference is easier, but I do readings all over the world, and be very happy to connect with you. And anybody that is interested, I offer a free Vedic chart. I know in India they're probably easy to get, but if you're interested, it's not a free reading. But if you want your chart, and I will explain it if you're brand new, if you're listening in the Western part of the world, not in India, I'm happy to send the chart and make a few comments and get you started. Just send me an email, and I need 3 pieces of information. I need your birth, time, date, and place.
Hmm. Awesome. I'll make sure to have all the details in the show notes for our listeners, Indra. And thank you, thank you so much for bringing astrology to the limelight. At its best, it is not about sealing our fate. It's about opening our eyes. It's a language that helps us speak to the quiet, suppressed parts of ourselves, and also a compass pointing not to the future, but more to the present moment where our choices they actually live. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, to all the listeners out there, whether you see the stars, the planets as signs, symbolism, or something in between, maybe the real invitation is this: to listen to the sky, to Mother Earth, and most importantly, to the self you meet when you are willing to look deeply. With that, I conclude this episode of Cosmic Conference. Thank you to all of you for joining us on this journey of cosmic reflection. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep your inner compass tuned. Thank you.